Hello everyone, True Zero Emissions here. Okay, so this is going to be a quick safety check. This is what I do before I ride my scooter. Each and every day before I ride my scooter at all, I check the tire pressure. This is very important, okay? There's a lot of accidents and a lot of injuries because low tire pressure. So I go down to my tire and I just push on it with my thumb. Now I don't know if you can see this, but do you see the tire moving a little bit? Now, it has air in it, and it has a lot of air. My guess would be about 35 pounds, just from experience, from checking pressure on the gauge and then pushing on the tire after pumping it up. It feels about 35 pounds. That's a good pressure. I tend to run my tires about 5 pounds under. I learned that from O-Man Dan, YouTube channel. He said he likes, and he didn't say, I don't think he said an exact number, but whatever is considered a full tire, and I don't know what that is on these tires. I don't know if that's 40, 45, 50. You have to read the tire itself. But at 35 pounds, if I understood O-Man Dan correctly, he said he likes more of his tire to touch the ground. See, if the tire is really hard, let's say there's 50 or 60 pounds in there, right? And I'm not saying to pump it to that, but if there was, only a small area when you're riding straight would be touching the ground, just this small area in the center. And when I let tire pressure out, so if I go down to like 35 pounds, more of this area will touch the ground when I'm riding straight. But we don't want the tire too low, right? Because if it's too low on pressure, then that can cause damage to the side, right? So it's important, but you know, you could research tire pressure yourself. Sometimes I run the tire pressure a little bit low, but I always run it at least 5 pounds, a little bit below normal. For me, that's 35 pounds. So this is the new front tire. It's a self-sealing, self-healing tire. So this one, you can see here, my thumb goes a little bit in, but I'm pushing really hard, right? There's definitely air in there. That's not a flat tire, and I would not say it's low on air. So I check that. I hold the brake on. I hold the brake and I push on the stem to make sure that this is tight in here. I also check this will, on this scooter, this area right here, this plate will slide up. It'll work its way up as I ride the scooter. It just does that. I don't know if that's because there's grease in here. Grease was put in here to help reduce the sound it was making, like I don't know if you call it a squeaking sound. I don't know what to call it, how to describe it. But with grease in there, it stopped doing that, but then that also helps this to slide up. So it's like, I would rather have a noisy stem than a stem that this slips up and it could potentially fall back. That would be very dangerous, right? On my M365 scooter, my first scooter, I had a seat on it and I had the stem snap on me, and that was a bad experience. I hit a bump and it snapped. I've never had that happen on a Dualtron scooter. My favorite stem, my favorite front end is the Wolf King GT Pro and Wolf King GTR. But I do love the Dualtron Thunder. I like other things about it, such as the range and the quality of the parts. Really good brakes. I like the braking system on it, including the regenerative braking. But okay, so safety-wise, I'll make sure there's no loose screws. Just looking here to make sure these don't look like they're loose, right? And I shouldn't be able to turn them with my hand either. If you want to, you can take a wrench and just see if they're tight. It's important not to over-tighten things. Like these screws here on the top, these can easily be stripped. These cannot be over-tightened. It's very important. The metal is like aluminum. And if you tighten this too much, it'll get loose, and then the screw just falls out. These are not meant to be super, super tight. These are stronger back here. I think these are longer. These two are. These go into a thicker metal. It's still aluminum, I think, but it's just deeper. So then there's 4 of them. But just be careful not to over-tighten things. All this stuff can be tightened pretty well, and I also use red Loctite there, which means I have to use heat to loosen them. If the brakes need adjusting, which these don't, if they do, then I loosen the top screws here, that one, and that allows us to move, right? And then I hold the brake on, and I put a releasable zip tie around this, pull it, so it's tight like I'm stopping, but not too tight, but just, you know, firm. And then I tighten the screws down, and that centers that, and that works very well. And I do that for the front and back, but right now there's no brake rub. It's not rubbing on the, if the rotor's bent, it can also rub. Okay, safety check, safety check. So I want to make sure that my kickstand also is not too loose so that it can just fall while I'm riding. If it's doing that, I would recommend getting a new kickstand, because if it comes down when you're riding and you turn, it can cause a crash. So that wouldn't be good. Okay, so that's the general safety check. I always make sure that all these parts up here on the steering are not loose, like the levers are not loose where they're just falling, right? Because what if you go to reach for your brake and it's down here, it fell down? So you need to always to be where you know it's at, where it's there, where you're used to grabbing for it, right? So adjusting these and not tightening them too much. These will strip. This metal can strip if it's over tightened, right? It's not very thick. See this? So just everything should be snug up here, not overly tightened, including the grips, right? Not overly tightened. This bag I bought on Amazon, and I keep some parts in there. I keep water in there. I keep the plug that goes from the charger to the battery. This is the adapter from an Alien Rides website. It lets me plug into an electric vehicle charging station. My regular charger, which is 240 volt and 110 volt both, will plug into a level 2 electric vehicle charging station. So I charge this battery at 2200 watts, which takes 1.5 hours or 1.5 hours to charge the battery from a completely drained battery. And I'll keep you posted on if the battery has a short lifespan from doing that. But I've been fast charging batteries my entire life, and I haven't noticed any batteries having any problems with any lithium batteries. So we'll see how this goes with this scooter as well. Okay, that's basically it. I just wanted to show that checking your tire pressure is very, very important, and making sure your wheels are tight as well. Sometimes the bolts can come loose on a scooter because there's so much vibration. So you always want to make sure all those things are tight and good, and make sure your brake pads are working well. I personally use electronic regenerative braking. That's not the it's not the pulsing. I don't use that one. It's the smooth and continuous braking that's electronic. So that's a separate setting, okay? So you can look into that to learn how to maximize the power of the electronic regenerative braking. There's different words for it, but it's where the motors stop the scooter very, very fast. That saves the brake pads, and it brings the scooter to a complete stop on this scooter. Okay, everyone, have a great day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.